Welcome to Planet Unraveled, where we explore Earth's most extraordinary places and conflicts shaping our future. Today, we set our sights on Greenland, an immense icy land often overlooked yet critical to global politics. You might recall that Donald Trump once joked about buying Greenland, setting off headlines worldwide. But was it truly a joke? Beneath Greenland's frigid exterior lies a treasure trove of rare minerals, strategic Arctic shipping routes, and even abundant offshore oil potential. The island, though geographically part of North America, has long been tied to Denmark, igniting centuries of debate about who truly should own or manage it. In this 20-minute special, we'll unravel Greenland's past, from Viking settlements to modern autonomy, and explore why global powers, including the United States, Russia, and China, have their eyes on its future. We'll also see what Greenlanders themselves want, considering environmental, cultural, and economic factors. Buckle up for a journey across this vast, snowy expanse as we discover why Greenland may be the world's next geopolitical flashpoint. Greenland is the world's largest island that isn't a continent in its own right. Spanning 2.16 million square kilometers, it is overwhelmingly covered in ice. About 80% of its landmass is permanently blanketed by a colossal ice sheet. Many people associate Greenland with Europe, primarily because it has been politically connected to Denmark for centuries. In reality, if you look at tectonic plates and landmass distribution, Greenland is part of the North American plate. This has led to interesting debates about Greenland's identity, European or North American. Despite this, flights to Greenland often come from Denmark, reflecting colonial ties that still shape Greenland's governance, trade, and even language. If you traveled here, you'd see stunning glaciers, towering icebergs, and rugged coastal cliffs. Yet there's far more beneath the ice than you'd expect. At the center of Greenland lies an ice sheet roughly 3 kilometers thick in some areas, making it second in size only to Antarctica's. Scientists estimate that if all Greenland's ice melted, global sea levels would rise by over 7 meters, redrawing coastlines worldwide. This underscores why climate researchers pay close attention to Greenland. Its melt rate is an alarming indicator of global warming. Recent studies show that temperatures in parts of Greenland have risen 0.3 degrees Celsius per decade since the 1980s. While that might not sound like much, such warming can accelerate ice loss, exposing rocky terrain and potential resources underneath. The interplay between Greenland's ice and potential exploitation of minerals is at the heart of today's global fascination. For climate activists, Greenland is a barometer of environmental health. For resource seekers, it's a gold mine, literally and figuratively. Greenland's known human history dates back thousands of years, but the Norse voyages around the 10th century are particularly famous. Led by figures like Eric the Red and later his son Leif Erikson, Norse settlers established farming communities along Greenland's southwestern coast. During a warmer climatic phase, they found arable land suitable for grazing livestock and growing fodder. Estimates suggest a population of around 3,000 to 5,000 Norse in Greenland at its peak. However, by the 1400s, these Norse colonies vanished. Scholars debate the reasons: climate cooling, soil erosion, conflicts with the Inuit, or a lack of resources. Greenland's so-called Green Era may have been short-lived, but it set a precedent for future European claims. Even now, archaeological sites of Norse settlements intrigue historians, reminding us that Greenland's lands were once more temperate and possibly could be again with ongoing climate change. Long before the Norse arrived, Greenland was home to various Paleo-Inuit cultures such as the Sakak and Dorset peoples. Over time, these evolved into the Inuit, who still form the majority of Greenland's population today, about 88% of its 56,000 residents. Inuit traditions center on subsistence hunting, fishing, and deep spiritual connections to the land and sea. Even as modern technology and global influences arrive, Inuit cultural practices remain integral to daily life. From the way they build kayaks, a Greenlandic invention, to their distinctive throat singing and storytelling traditions, the Inuit have adapted to Greenland's harsh environment for millennia. They've navigated ice flows, traveled by dog sled, and learned how to hunt seals and whales sustainably. Their resilience and knowledge continue to shape Greenland's identity, serving as a reminder that this isn't just a land of ice, it's home. Greenland became a Danish colony in 1721 when Hans Agedi established a mission in what is now Nuuk. Over the centuries, Denmark solidified its control through trade monopolies and Christian missions. In 1814, the Treaty of Kiel confirmed that Greenland would remain under Danish rule, even as Norway split from Denmark. By 1953, Greenland's colonial status ended officially, transitioning it into a province of Denmark. Yet the colonial legacy is still palpable. Greenland received substantial substantial annual subsidies from Denmark, and decisions about large-scale projects often involve Copenhagen's approval. A sense of cultural imposition, like forced assimilation policies in past decades, continues to spark debate about the morality and practicality of Danish oversight. For some, Denmark's influence brings stability. For others, it represents a chain that hinders full autonomy and cultural resurgence. Greenlanders took a decisive step toward autonomy with the Greenland Home Rule Act in 1979, granting limited self-governance. Then, in 2009, they advanced further under the Self-Government Act, which transferred additional powers to the Greenlandic Parliament and Inatsisartut. This act allowed Greenland to manage its vast mineral and potential oil resources, although foreign and defense policies remained largely under Danish control. Today, many Greenlanders view these steps as part of a journey toward eventual independence. Mute B. Egede, the current prime minister, often highlights the importance of developing Greenland's economy beyond fishing and subsidies. But the path to freedom isn't simple. Greenland must balance environmental considerations, foreign investors, and the well-being of local communities. Economic diversification beyond Denmark's financial support is a key challenge that shapes every major policy decision. Beyond minerals, Greenland's waters may hold billions of barrels of oil and vast reserves of natural gas. According to assessments by the USGS enthusiasts, believe tapping these resources could transform Greenland's economy, potentially funding education, infrastructure, and paving the way to independence. However, the Greenlandic government introduced an oil and gas exploration ban in 2021, halting new licensing due to environmental concerns and shifting priorities towards sustainability. Supporters of the ban argue that climate change, melting ice, and the cultural importance of hunting and fishing should outweigh the potential economic gains. Opponents say Greenland can responsibly manage resource extraction, noting that independence from Denmark might rely on substantial revenue from hydrocarbons. This tension reflects a global struggle: how to balance energy demands with the imperative to protect our planet. Greenland's Arctic positioning places it squarely in the path of potential power struggles involving the United States, Russia, and even China. Thule Air Base, known as Patuffik in Greenlandic, operated by the US Air Force, sits in northern Greenland, providing critical radar for missile detection and satellite tracking. In a world where Arctic sea lanes could become new shipping highways, Greenland's real estate is more valuable than ever. Some analysts argue that if Greenland were independent, it could open deals with alternative global powers, an unsettling thought for Washington, which values a strong NATO ally controlling this region. It's no coincidence that Trump's 2019 remarks surfaced amid rising US-China trade tensions. For the Pentagon, Greenland is not about a real estate acquisition, but about maintaining a secure frontier against other nations' Arctic ambitions. In August 2019, US media reported that President Donald Trump had expressed interest in buying Greenland. While some dismissed it as a joke, many saw it as a bold strategic move. The Danish government quickly rebuffed the notion, calling it absurd. Yet Trump's stance highlighted deeper strategic aims: controlling Greenland's rare earths, preempting Chinese influence, and shoring up America's northern defense. The controversy escalated when Trump canceled a planned visit to Denmark after Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen labeled his Greenland proposal as not for discussion. In Greenland itself, the reaction was mixed. Some people saw the US interest as an opportunity for development and independence from Denmark, while others viewed it as a threat to their autonomy and culture. Though the headlines faded, the underlying tensions remain. Why would a figure like Donald Trump, closely associated with warm Florida beaches, be so fixated on a frozen landscape? The short answer is resources and security. Greenland's extreme climate is the polar opposite of Florida's subtropics. But from a business standpoint, location and weather matter less than the assets lying under the ice. Trump built his career on real estate and developments, capitalizing on undervalued properties with long-term potential. Greenland's potential treasure trove of minerals and its strategic position fits well with that mindset. Beyond the headlines, this also signifies an American interest in preventing rivals from stepping in. Whether it's about controlling rare earths or establishing a more dominant military presence, Trump's Florida roots might be symbolic of a broader American dream, turning unexploited land into economic gold. Denmark invests heavily in Greenland, providing an annual subsidy of around $600 million that funds education, healthcare, and infrastructure. This sum constitutes roughly half of Greenland's public spending, creating a tight bond that complicates talk of independence. Though many Greenlanders appreciate the financial stability, there's growing sentiment that Greenland Greenland's natural resources could eventually replace or reduce reliance on Danish money. Critics argue that such subsidies can stifle development by removing the urgency for economic diversification. Supporters, however, believe these funds give Greenland the breathing room to develop responsibly, rather than rushing into environmentally risky mining or drilling. Ultimately, the Denmark-Greenland relationship is a balancing act between dependence and autonomy. If Greenland's mineral or oil prospects finally materialize, Denmark could lose some of its sway. For now, though, the subsidy remains a pivotal economic lifeline. For the United States, safeguarding Greenland is not just about outmaneuvering China or Russia. It's also about resource security. Many advanced weapon systems, aerospace technologies, and green energy solutions rely on critical minerals. If Greenland's potential is harnessed by an American ally or by US companies, it could diminish China's dominance in rare earths, ensuring a more reliable supply chain. The US Department of Defense has previously allocated funds to survey rare earth deposits in Greenland, suggesting heightened interest in the region's capability to meet America's strategic needs. Some experts argue that controlling Greenland's resources would grant the United States a military and economic edge that extends well beyond the island's frigid shores. It's a long game, but one where every advantage matters in the global chessboard of resource competition. The Inuit population in Greenland faces critical decisions: how to balance traditional ways of life against the lure of resource exploitation. Many communities rely on fishing and hunting for survival. Industrial scale mining could contaminate waters, disrupt wildlife habitats, and undermine subsistence practices. Climate change adds complexity, as melting ice can open up new areas for extraction. For some Inuit leaders, this presents a unique opportunity to profit from resources that have been inaccessible for millennia. Others argue that short-term gains might lead to long-term destruction, especially if the environment suffers irreversible damage. Ultimately, the people of Greenland must weigh economic hopes for independence against the risk of losing what makes their homeland unique. The stakes couldn't be higher for a culture deeply intertwined with the Arctic's fragile ecosystems. Pituffik, historically known as Thule Air Base, is a US military installation in northwest Greenland that dates back to 1951. Built during the Cold War, it formed part of the distant early warning line designed to detect Soviet bombers and missiles. The base, which sits about 1,100 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, was strategically placed to provide radar coverage of the Northern Hemisphere. Over the decades, its radar and satellite tracking systems have advanced, becoming integral to US and NATO defense. Today, Pituffik continues to play a crucial role in America's ballistic missile warning and space surveillance networks. Operated by the US Air Force, it tracks satellites and potential missile launches, sending real-time data to command centers. This capability underscores Greenland's strategic importance to the United States and reinforces American influence in the Arctic region. However, the base's history also includes the forced relocation of local Inuit communities in the 1950s, a reminder of the tensions between strategic priorities and Indigenous rights. As Greenland moves toward greater autonomy, questions arise about the future of Pituffik. Yet, as long as Arctic defense remains critical, the United States is likely to maintain a strong presence at Thule, securing both North America's skies and its strategic interests.